Welcome back, everybody. Friday morning show rolls on. Our thanks to Nick Skalicki for giving us an update on River Valley Speedway, getting ready for that. You know, keeping your eyes focused on going on with the high school recruiting front here for the class of 2026. There are some recruits that get more attention than others, whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent. But when you have the amount of attention of schools on a certain player ends up committing, that might get more eyeballs on it, and that's perfect example of the next recruit that the Bison got for the class of 2026 out of Prescott, Wisconsin. Kobe Russell announced his commitment to the Bison last night. Cornerback, wide receiver that had a litany of offers, I think 11 total, 5 of them FBS schools, Fresno State, including one of them, Matt Entz, who, of course, coaches there. His high school coach, Jordan Hansen, joins us now from Prescott, Wisconsin to chat about Kobe and coming to NDSU. Coach, it's great to see you. I really appreciate the time. All right, give us the lowdown. Why all the hubbub about Kobe Russell? How good of a player is NDSU getting?
Yeah, he's a tremendous athlete. I think you turn that tape on and you see what he can do, whether it be for us, offense, defense, or special teams. A 3-sport athlete, I think that's important as well when you're recruiting nowadays is, kids that are doing multiple things. And, even on the basketball court, he was, as a sophomore, took him to state, guarding the best player on everybody's team along the way. In track, he's doing some great things there as well. Jumping, he just jumped over 21 the other day. So just a great athlete that does multiple things. But I think things that set him apart, and you get a great athlete like that. A lot of times you got to make sure that their grades are good, or they're doing the right thing on the weekend, and they're behaving in class. And with Kobe, you don't have to worry about any of that. He's sitting in front of the classroom. He's turning his stuff in. And I've never seen a kid just laser focused on not only our team goals here at Prescott, but what he envisions himself doing at NDSU, and beyond as well. He really, is that mature of a kid to have those goals and vision and to attack that every day. He's a pretty special kid.
Jordan, it sounds like University of Wisconsin, Minnesota was starting to up their interest level. From what you know, is that accurate?
Yeah, they've been here a few times. They went. I know Wisconsin came and watched their track meet. His track meet the other day. I know the Gophers have been in and out. A few different times, a few different coaches. And then I know he's been on visits to Iowa and stuff like that as well. And Northwestern's been here quite a bit as well. So, yeah, there's definitely some interest in those Big Ten schools too.
You know about North Dakota State. Why, in your mind, did that win out for Kobe?
I think the coaches, the coaching staff, Coach Gazer, just a great guy, boots on the ground in Wisconsin. When he texts that he's coming through, you get excited as a coach just to talk ball with him, talk life. He does such a good job at recruiting Wisconsin. And I coached at Holman for 7 years, and they had Seth Wilson, went to NDSU back in the day, and kind of met him through that process. But just a great guy. That comes through even if you don't have a kid. He wants to know how you're doing in life, and if there's anyone around in the area as well. And I think those connections are big. And Will Johnson too, that D-back coach. After Gazer came through, Will Johnson came in, worked Kobe out, and I think he's a phenomenal guy, really really good coach. And him and Kobe building that connection together was pretty special. And I think the staff is just phenomenal.
So when Polisek comes in, is that basically the closer in your mind?
Yeah, I've never, all these coaches come through, right? We had Gazer, we had Will, and then that Polisek comes through, Grant Olson's sitting there, Will Johnson sitting there. We got all these coaches in there, and it's like, holy crap, these guys really want him. He's one of their top priorities. You haven't seen another school, have that many coaches in at that one time.
Yeah.
So. And just what a great guy, right? You want to run through a brick wall when he talks. I'm ready to suit up every time he's giving the speech. So, and those guys are all phenomenal, and it was a really really cool experience for Kobe and for me and myself. I've never really been a part of something like that where a kid commits in the school with all the coaches, and you're sitting right there, and the room goes just crazy. That was fun.
For people that don't know, give us the level of football you play at in the state of Wisconsin, and what kind of talent are you facing on a Friday week-to-week basis?
Yeah, we play in the Middle Border Conference. It's probably one of the best small school conferences in the state. The last decade, I think we've had 5 different teams in the state finals out of our conference. And it just keeps getting better and better. And I grew up in Somerset, and our coach kind of, played for Bruce Larson, and for a decade there, Somerset was kind of the pinnacle. And every coach in our league's just gotten better, and taking stuff that we've learned from him. So every week you gotta strap it on and make sure it's ready to go. We're probably in between that Division 4 and 5 range. On Wisconsin, there's 7 divisions. Division 1 being the biggest, Division 7 being the smallest, and there's 8-man as well. Probably 5, I would think, but those haven't come out yet. They won't come out until June. In our conference, we got our conference is loaded with talent. We got starting center for Ohio State. Came out of our conference from St. Croix Central. Gavin Self, phenomenal football player, NDSU kid. And then we got a lot of D2 type kids, and even Division 3 and WIAC football.
Really good.
Around here is really good, and a lot of those kids are have maybe not quite the height or the weight that they need to be a Division 1, but they have that drive and the skill set, and you see them go to WIAC schools out of our league and perform well. So each week we get really battle tested. We have to bring it, and if you have a bad week, you'll take an L. So it's fun.
I got to ask and I've talked to different Wisconsin high school head coaches about the Division 1 teams that come in specifically from the Dakotas, North Dakota State, South Dakota State, South Dakota, North Dakota's been in there now. How do the athletes in your mind respond to that? Knowing, I know a lot of them want to be Badgers, but now knowing full well when the FCS schools come in, the level of talent that's at those schools.
Yeah, I think now you look at Big Ten, SEC football, it's different than it was before with NIL stuff, and you see a lot of guys that go there for themselves. Maybe not necessarily the school as much, where you see like North Dakota State and South Dakota State and the family atmosphere that they still have. And not a lot of kids are transferring out of there.
Yep.
A lot of kids are staying home, and and the recruits can sell that. And I think our kids see that as well as family's a strong word, but it's very close to that group of creating that kind of family and guys together working hard. So, in the level of football, I mean, you've looked at the NFL draft, and 2 guys from NDSU get drafted. You can look at the stats. So if you are going to go to that school and your dream is to play in the NFL, North Dakota State's not a bad school.
I got to ask, I know Kobe, I think, did an interview with a newspaper around your area saying, I play both ways. Could he do both at the next level? I know he's going to play defensive back, but could he do both?
He's fun. He's just a phenomenal athlete. I know there's some schools that had a full D-back room that were wondering if he'd be willing to play wide receiver. In his mind, he thinks he's a Travis Hunter type kid, and he can do it. But we'll see what coach has in store for him when he gets there. And college is a little bit different. You gotta, there's a lot to know on both sides of the ball if you're able to do that. So if you had that opportunity, I think you'd love it. But focusing in on one task too wouldn't be a bad idea for him.
Last thing before I let you go, you were visiting with me off air about how hectic this was with the amount of schools that were at your school. Can you describe that and how Kobe handled that?
Yeah, it's just crazy. I think we've had 15 to 20 different schools in 2 weeks. For me as a head coach, being in the head coach position, that's the first time that has happened. I think that you get to a point in the process where it's like, okay, I visited these schools, I've talked to their coaches. I kind of have a good feel of where I want to go and who I want to hook up with. And, you could see right away at North Dakota State was, they were the first offer, the first ones there. They really wanted him from the get-go. They're calling him every week, talking to him on the phone, multiple coaches. I think that really meant something to him and stuck with him. And it's been a process. So it's interesting. It's been fun though. And I'm glad he made a really good decision and going to NDSU, and I think he feels like he made a really good choice as well. So yeah, it's been crazy. I know it's not many times do you get that opportunity at a smaller school like us where you got Big Ten schools rolling in, and so it's been good. It's been fun to meet a lot of those coaches as well. And
I bet.
those along the way. So yeah.
I appreciate the time, bud. Thanks so much for doing this. Congratulations, and good luck this upcoming fall, okay?
All right, horns up.
There you go.
Thanks.
Jordan Hansen joining us from Prescott, Wisconsin, head football coach of Kobe Russell, who is the newest Bison football commit. I'm visiting with Kobe later today. We'll have that interview for you on Inforum.com over the weekend. So the Bison now up to, I believe, 11 now commits for the class of 2026. And you got to see a little bit of Kobe's highlight reel there during our interview. And he's made splash plays both on offense, as you saw there. He made a pick six that you got to see. He does a little bit of everything. And that I got a sense when I found out this was happening that this was a different level of excitement over recruiting. You heard it, and Jordan confirmed that there were 5 coaches there when he announced his commitment. So Bison now up to 11 for the class of 2026, 4 out of the state of Wisconsin. They have made sure they've made hay in Tim Polisic's home state, which he said they were going to do. They did it in the 25 class, and they're doing it here again in 2026. We're due for a break. We come back. We caught up on what happened in hockey last night, look ahead to the NBA weekend, and a couple more schedule notes as well. Back on a Friday morning, final half hour of the week, right after this.